What's going on, y'all? Straight to the point, sports and entertainment. Please hit that like button. Make sure you sub to the channel if you are not a member, and hit those notifications so that you're able to get all of my content and all of my videos. Um, I'm not gonna stay on here too long. Of course, I always say that, but then you never know where these conversations will take us. But shouts out to the whole entire LDBC basketball, boxing communities, and salute to all the people that rock with me now. Um, I want to talk about Ben Simmons for just a few minutes. I'm gonna talk about Ben Simmons. I'm gonna also get into some other NBA talk, and then get into some NFL real quick. Now, Ben Simmons, man, has had a roller coaster career. Um, we know that when he was playing with the Sixers, man, um, it looked as if though Ben Simmons was going to be one of those stars that was destined to have a lot of potential. Um, but the unfortunate thing was many different things. It was a combination of uh, not having that driving force to get better, of course, the injuries, then of course, um, mental health situations in which he claimed, and then of course, some off the court habits. But Ben Simmons, after being bought out over there in Brooklyn with the Brooklyn Nets, he has went to the Clippers, and now he has revitalized. It looks as if though we got one. It's the last game before the All Star break, but with him coming off the bench, a lot of people were really shocked and surprised at how Ben Simmons had came out. Um, Simply because we're not accustomed to seeing over the last couple of seasons. Let's just call it what it is. We have not been accustomed to seeing Ben Simmons play as aggressive as he normally would have, especially coming off the bench. And um, I look at I look at Ben Simmons. Please hit the like when you come in here. Hit the like button. I look at Ben Simmons, man, and I've always looked at him as a guy who's hella talented. All right, got a lot of talent. Always had a lot of potential, a lot of athleticism, playmaking, this, that, and the third. Needed to work on his jumper and everything, but it was mainly a mental thing with him. You know. Now I'm not trying to sit here and make no excuses by any means. You still got to go out there and you still got to work hard and you still got to if you want to be in the NBA, you have to show why you belong in the NBA. And over the course of the past couple of seasons, he hasn't been able to show that. Now, true enough, he's been dealing with the back injury and the nerve. It's the nerve situation with his back. But uh, when he played with the Clippers last night, Ben Simmons came out. He had 14 points, 7 assists, seven rebounds, 3 steals, and I think a block too as well. Um, and it was against the Jazz. Now, everybody might say, okay, well, yeah, that was against the Jazz. We got to see him against more elite competition and everything. Let's see how this plays out. Which, I agree. We have to see how this plays out. But now Ben Simmons he's in a different situation. Okay, he's with a coach, and I don't think Ty Lue gets enough credit for the coaching job that he does. But you with a guy in Ty Lue who is a championship coach, regardless of whether he had LeBron and all that team or not. He's still a championship head coach. Uh, and the Clippers right now, I think if I'm not mistaken, the Clippers right now are are sitting comfortably at 29 and 23. Now, I'm not going to say they're going to get too comfortable with where they're sitting because I'm pretty sure they are hungry. But here's the thing: Ben Simmons could actually make this situation work. He's getting a little bit older. I think Ben Simmons. Some people might have got into the ear of Ben Simmons and said, "Hey, look, this is your final chance to make your mark on your career. Do you want to go out like some players that never got to finish their journey?" And I think with Ben Simmons, man, this could be a situation where he could potentially revitalize his career. You know, um, you've seen a lot of guys that have been able to, they started off in the NBA a little shaky, then they ended up finding a home and ended up making the NBA, well, their place in the NBA by having their role. I'm trying to think of a guy, that's a perfect example. Okay, like a Deshaun Stevenson, right? I use Deshaun Stevenson as an example. Now, Deshaun Stevenson, for those of y'all that don't remember, Deshaun Stevenson was actually a standout in high school, coming straight to the NBA, and a lot of people thought that Deshaun Stevenson, if you would have looked at him in high school, he was going to come in and really, make his mark and make his presence felt. Well, he was still a remarkable talent and everything, but at the NBA level, he had to understand that, okay, everybody's not going to be in the NBA what they were necessarily in high school and necessarily what they were in college. And um, Deshaun Stevenson was able to walk, be around in the NBA for, a minute or two. And then he figured out that the way that I'm going to go ahead and stay here is by being a solid defender. And he made a living, uh, playing defense, even having a reputation of putting the clamps on a guy like LeBron, and getting in his head, so to speak. That's a prime example. And he was able to keep his job, and he was able to uh, be a part of a championship squad in the Dallas Mavericks and be an important piece. Now he played some other places or whatnot, but he was an important piece with the Dallas Mavericks and whatnot, winning that championship. Then another guy that I think about Drew Holiday. Okay, Drew Holiday. You got to remember when Drew Holiday when he came out of high school, and then of course he came out of UCLA. Drew Holiday, even though he didn't score that much in college and everything, he was known as a point guard, one of the more decent point guards. And you didn't look at Drew Holiday necessarily as just a primary lockdown defender or anything like that. No, you looked at Drew Holiday as, a playmaker, scorer, getting to the bucket, setting the table, things of that nature. That was his game. However, what did he do? He was able to transition from where he came from and the culture over there at UCLA, and he made a living being that lockdown defender. Now he's one of the top defenders in the league, and it's become a good reputation in his case, because now you see Drew Holiday being able to go to a team and be that difference maker. And that's what I'm saying about Ben Simmons. He can actually make this situation work by being the the difference maker. Now, a lot of people don't realize this. I think some people forget Ben Simmons was all NBA defense. Okay, he was all NBA defense when he began his career, and he also was an All Star too as well. What's up with it, Cypress TV? I see you in the building. Make sure y'all go sub to the homie Cypress TV. It goes down over there, Cypress TV. Definitely go sub to his channel, man. Salute to you, brother. You said it, Ben Simmons at the four, and yeah, yes, and um, I was talking to Cypress, man, and we had already talked about that. We discussed this, you know. I if with the way that basketball is positionless, like him playing at the four, it really wouldn't even make a difference because pretty much everybody now on the court they seem to be handling the ball. Like for instance, when you look at the Nuggets, pretty much all all of the starters can handle the rock. You have Jokic, he can handle the rock. Aaron Gordon, he can handle the rock. Um, Jamal Murray, he can handle the rock. Michael Porter Jr. can handle the rock. You know, uh, I would say everybody with the exception of Bowen, but you catch my drift. Everybody can pretty much handle the rock. So if you put Ben Simmons on there, it would be like he would be kind of a point forward, if you will. So he could still handle the rock if he gets the ball or whatnot. You know what I'm saying? He could still flash up the court, but that's not to say that he could come off the ball like he did yesterday with Utah. He was catching alley oops, and they were actually looking for him. He was the one that was being set up. Stephen Green, I see you in a bit. Make sure y'all go sub to Stephen Green, man. Go sub to his channel, man. You said Ben has to want it. The Clippers can't rechange Ben Rowe. It's all on Ben. I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. Ben does have to, he has to want it. He has to be aggressive like he showed last night. Um, you know, sometimes, man, like you being in a new environment, it can actually change things. We got to remember that Ben Simmons has been in the playoffs before. You know, Steven, I think you remember that. He's been in the playoffs before. He's been in playoff battles before. Now, maybe not going to the Eastern Conference Finals or nothing like that. But we are talking about a guy that has been in the playoffs before. Now, I'm not saying that he has a championship mindset right off the bat, but he could get around a guy like Kawhi Leonard, get around a guy like Ty Lue, and be like, you know what? Yeah, and I'm talking about guys that have actually won. I could revitalize my career. It's the same thing that I was talking about with Jimmy Butler. Everybody had doubted Jimmy Butler. He had developed this reputation for being, a cancer to the locker room, and nobody wanted to play with him and his personality, yada yada yada. But you're forgetting the fact that Jimmy Butler was the guy that led the team to two NBA Finals and as well as Eastern Conference Finals too as well. You said with Ben that played like yesterday, the Clippers can be a dangerous team in the playoffs. Absolutely, absolutely. Now we still got to see them against, like I said, the upper echelon teams. Now if he buys into what Ty Lue is selling, which I have no doubt he will, absolutely, then we'll definitely be cooking with that fish grease. But Ben does have to Ben does have to want it. I look at it from a standpoint like this, right? Um, if Ben, this has been some, in my opinion, Stephen and Cypress, this might be Ben Simmons' last stop. You know what I'm saying? In order to get it together, um, we always know what the question was with Ben. It was his health, okay. It was his desire to get better, which, and and that's another thing too. I'm gonna tell you what I was impressed with the most too. He actually hit all of his free throws yesterday too. That's another thing. He hit 4 free throws. Now look, I get it, man. They were playing against Utah. The games before the All Star break. A lot of these guys aren't taking anything serious. They kind of just ready to go ahead and take a break and everything. But I'm looking at it from a standpoint. Okay, you have something to build on in terms of momentum. You have something to build on in terms of momentum now, and that's the key thing. He could go in, um, within this next week or so, get in the gym. Like, no, if he really desires to get better and make this team, somewhat competitive, he could get in there right after the All Star break, while everybody, probably don't have their rest and everything like that. Ben Simmons has been working out and come out and surprise some people again. And even though he's on a bench role, that doesn't necessarily mean that he can't be effective. Because I mean, look at Russell Westbrook. It's been no, and that's what I was just saying, Stephen. He's coming off the bench. He's doing this off the bench. Now, I mean, he can be a starter, but I think that right now it's beneficial for him to come off the bench because I mean he hasn't played that many games. I think he's only played like 25 games if I'm not mistaken. Well, with the exception of yesterday, he played like 26. But he still has to get back accustomed to playing where he was in the first couple of seasons when he was with the Sixers, and then he's got to get in a winning environment. He's been in a losing environment in a losing situation for the last couple of years. You know what I'm saying? I mean, really hasn't played that much. I mean, when he was over there with when it was KD and I think KD uh, and Kyrie, everybody thought that he was going to take over because of course Harden Harden was gone. Harden and went to the 76ers. Everybody thought that was gonna work, but Ben Simmons, he stayed hurt. So it's been a roller coaster ride for Ben Simmons. But I always like this though, Stephen Green and Cypress. This is what I always like, man. I like a good comeback story, man. I like a good comeback story. Like I said, in a situation like this, where Ben Simmons previously, when he was going to go party and claiming that his back hurt and all this other stuff, in a situation like that, you're going to get cooked. However, if you come back and you show me that you're able to, bounce back and then be even better, like in a situation like this, I'm gonna give you your props. I'm not gonna hate on you at all. Even if Joel Embiid was to do the same thing, right? Let's take a guy like Joel Embiid. If Joel Embiid was to somehow get better, with his knee, and all of a sudden just start dominating, like out of nowhere, and working hard, things of that nature, then my attitude would change about Joel Embiid. But now I'm gonna be honest with you with something, man, and I hate to be hypocritical when I say this, but I want to talk about this now that I brought up Joel Embiid. You say Clippers at 5 seed. Possibly. We'll have to see though. We still. This is the way I look at it, Stephen. We have a whole nother half of basketball to play. The real season begins after All Star break, so we're gonna be looking at that. But I wanted to say this though, Stephen, man, you being a Sixers fan, the other day, they had posed a question, and I think Stephen A. Smith he was asked a question, and he said basically that you know Joel Embiid, uh, him going through what he went through, it was Ben Simmons' fault. I think it was the other way around. I know this. I know it's weird for me saying this, but to be honest with you, I don't think that Ben Simmons, after a while, he wanted to play with Embiid anymore. And actually, I think it was the other way around. I think Joel Embiid, to a certain extent, was holding Ben Simmons back. And now I know, true enough, both of them they have their own issues in terms of their work habits and things of that nature. But I'm starting to look at Joel Embiid now, and I'm gonna talk about this a little bit later. I'm gonna bust out another live a little bit later and talk about the situation. But I'm starting to think, man, that Joel Embiid has been the problem because you have to think about it, man. Ben Simmons was an all-star too. He was an all-star level player. Some people thought that Ben Simmons was actually going to do the unthinkable and once upon a time and become that perennial all-star and be that Hall of Fame and that superstar. But I'm starting to look at Joel Embiid and it's like, okay, you had Butler come over there. That didn't work out. Doc Rivers, when we talk about coaching, that didn't work out. James Harden, that didn't work out. You know what I'm saying? And not to mention, some of the other guys that that had came through there, to a lesser degree that weren't quite super. They were just really good players and whatnot. And it's kind of like they're looking at the situation. You have Paul George over there, and it's like he seems unmotivated to play. He's not playing the same way when Paul George was always known as the guy that you could count on when everybody else was gone. David Joseph, what's up with it, man? I see you in the building, man. You said, imagine if the Clippers make the playoffs with James Harden and Ben Simmons, and the Sixers stay home with Joel Embiid and Paul George. It would be nuts. Yeah, it would. It's on Embiid because don't show no passion in his game. I listen. I agree with you both. Now, let me talk about with David. David, you brought up a good point, man. I agree with you 100% because we're looking at a situation now where Ben Simmons is in a winning situation. Joel Embiid, he's in a losing situation. And listen, I know it's a team game, but all the fingers are pointing at Joel Embiid in this situation because he's been a detriment to the team. I mean, you saw what happened against the Raptors. He couldn't even capitalize against, the Raptors, in which he's always, he got beat. I think he has, Steven and David Joseph and Cypress. I think he has nightmares about what happened when when Kawhi hit that shot or whatnot. But um, that's neither here nor there. He had got booed against the Raptors and everything. And the more you look at Joel Embiid, you're just looking at this guy and you're like, man, you think long and hard and you're like, this guy, man, really feels like he's entitled, man. And he's owed something and he's saying all that he's done for this franchise. Well, Joel Embiid has missed just about as many games as he's played. He's missed like 400 and some odd games, and he's played 400 and some odd games. And you do the math on that. You said Doc Rivers, Jimmy Butler, Tobias Harris, Brett Brown, James Harden, Nick Nurse. Yeah, exactly. One common denominator in that, Joel Embiid. Exactly. 76ers fans are getting tired of Joel Embiid. Maxie was right about him. Look, I'm definitely going to talk about that, David Joseph. I'm not going to spend too much time on that, but you're exactly right. I am going to talk about that later because we have to start looking in that direction. For so many years, okay, for about a decade, we have sat around and we have, even though that Joel Embiid might have been, the MVP caliber player and might have been talented and everything, they made so many excuses for him. And now we have to start pointing the finger in his direction because look at all those people that you named. All of those people right there, all those players and coaches right there. At one time or another, they were either all-star level players, really decent players, or championship head coaches. When we talk about Nurse and when we talk about Doc Rivers, to going over there in the situation with Philly, and it's like you're having to depend on a guy in Joel Embiid who can't stay healthy, who sits up there, he blasts his teammates and tries to point the finger to everybody except himself. Just case in point, just the other night he tried to blame uh, Kelly Oubre on hustling back and everything. And Kelly Oubre got heated, and he's like, "Man, you haven't even been here. We've been the one that's been playing. We've been the one that's been out here hustling. We've been the one that's been out here, at practices, in preseason and everything. Meanwhile, you don't play no back to backs. You missing the preseason. You get to go play the Olympics and had a ball out there, but then you come back and you're not ready to, get back to work. And then another thing is, reason why I'm going to talk about the situation later, David Joseph, is simply because Joel Embiid has actually joined the 500 club, and there's only like a couple of players that's been able to do that in terms of making the amount of money that they're on the verge of making. And that, of course, is LeBron James, Stephen Curry, Paul George, um, and him. He's in the 500 club in terms of how much money he's making. So, and you got to think about it. Is he really worth that much money? He's basically been stealing money, but he's missed as many games as he's played. He's played like 430 some odd games and missed like 400 in his career. So you got to do the math in that. Now, I do want to talk about the Pistons, man. I think that the Pistons, man, um, they're making noise. Uh, they have beaten some good teams. Um, the Detroit Pistons, man. They at one point, I think it was, I want to say in January. In January, they went on a win. They went on a win streak. They went on like a 5 game win streak. And then they had won like seven of their 9 games or so. I think that the Pistons, man, need to be taken seriously. Uh, and here's why. Here's why I'm looking at the Pistons, right? For one, they're getting ready to get Ivy back. Okay, Ivy went down. He suffered that injury and everything. He said the Pistons, Rockets, Thunder, nice young teams built for the future of winning. I agree with you, David. I agree with you. The Pistons, though, they I always look at the pressure from a pressure standpoint. Now, let's switch over to football for just a second, right? Now, you remember when you watched the Commanders, okay? One of the reasons why I chose the Commanders, man, with Jaden Daniels and everything leading the charge, was because the Commanders really didn't have that much pressure on them, and they were playing. They're playing like a little kid that don't think. You know what I'm saying? Like you see, as an adult, you think about the what ifs or something like that, but as a kid, you really don't think. So your 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 way of going, having fun and everything is free flowing, and it's like, well, I don't have any pressure. I got all this time in the world. That actually is a better way to play than, okay, let's say the Detroit Pistons, right? Okay, let's, yeah, swinging it back over to basketball. Let's say they play the Detroit Pistons. They happen to match up with a Cleveland Cavaliers team. Well, the Cleveland Cavaliers, they got all this pressure on them, even though that they're somewhat of a young team. They got all this pressure on them. Now they did make that move. Karis LeVert, he went over there to ATL and everything. They got all the pressure on them because they're the number one team, okay, and the expectations are going to be higher because they're like, okay, you did all of this stuff during the regular season. You were beating all these teams and this, that, and the third. Now that the playoffs come, now people are going to expect you to show up. Whereas if they play the Pistons and everything, the Pistons, they're not going to be under any pressure. You know why? Because they're young, they're on the come up, and here's the kicker: a lot of people would see the Pistons, them making it to the playoffs, just even them just making it to the playoffs would have been a successful season because they hadn't been there in quite some time. So that's why, like, the Pistons are very scary, and that's the same thing that we can say about Boston if they played the Pistons. That could be the same thing if they, even like with New York. I even think that the Pistons got a shot at knocking off New York, Orlando, the Pacers. I really feel like the Pistons can do some damage. You said the Cavaliers of the season remind me of the Thunder last season. Ran it all season, but couldn't get it done in the playoff. Mitchell is not the greatest playoff player yet. Now I'll say this. Let me say this though, David. Now with the Thunder, remember the Thunder actually played the Cleveland Cavaliers very well, and you got to remember that the Thunder the year before last, they didn't even make the playoffs. So the Thunder actually had a successful season. Remember, remember, David, Joseph, they didn't have Chet Holmgren the season before last. Chet Holmgren had got hurt. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about the season before last. You know what I'm saying? Last season and the season before last, they didn't. They unfortunately they missed the playoffs. If I'm not mistaken, the Thunder didn't make the playoffs. They ended up making the playoffs last season. You know what I'm saying? And it was a call. One call would have had them in the Western Conference Finals. So I really feel like they had a successful season. You know what I'm saying? Now it wasn't a thing where they were doing that 2 seasons in a row or anything. They made all this hoopla, and then next thing you know, they didn't make it. Now with the Cavs, that's the situation that we got to look at because last season they actually had a chance to win, but it was an unfortunate thing when you talk about Donovan Mitchell. He had ended up getting hurt, and they weren't able to make it. You said the Thunder got rid of the Giddy distraction too. They should be way more focused. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They got rid of that. But really, I don't even think that was really even bothering them. That's one of the things that I like about Shea Gilchrist Alexander, man, is that Shea Gilchrist Alexander, man, he plays with tunnel vision. He's like, hey, if you mention me, fine. If you don't, it doesn't matter. I'm still gonna go out here. I'm still gonna hoop. I'm still gonna bust whoever's ass is in front of me. And that's what you have to like about SGA. That's why he is my leading candidate for MVP. Is his game all exciting and make you jump out all the time? No, it's not. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it is what it is. But if we're gonna go by that logic, we got to look at a guy like David Robinson. It's like what you saw is what you got with David Robinson. No more, no less. It was simple, big, fundamental. But guess what? They were successful with it. You know, he was winning rings. He got 5 rings out of the deal. I mean, do you want them to talk about you in the same light as a Charles Barkley, great player, no rings, in the same light as a Karl Malone, great player, no rings. Same thing with John Stockton too. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, it doesn't take anything away from them, the great players and everything. But all of those guys, they wanted championships. Same thing with several other players over time. You know, they beat themselves up because they wanted championships or whatnot. And pretty soon, you know, if all goes well, situation goes well, I think SGA will be talking about him having rings and stuff. And that's the same thing with Jokic too. His game is not pretty. It's not enjoyable to watch. It's not something that I'm gonna wake up out of bed to watch Jokic or anything like that. No, but Jokic is gonna fill up a stat sheet. Jokic is top player in PER and value over replacements, and um, you know is always in the MVP conversation and stuff. So we gotta look at it from that standpoint. But yeah, man, I think that the Pistons, man, they do have a shot at coming out of the East. It remains to be seen. Like I said, we got a second half of basketball. You said Sam Presti is a great GM too. He will make moves to keep the Thunder competitive. Absolutely. A lot of people criticize Sam Presti too for what he was doing when he first off, a lot of people were wondering why would you go ahead and make that move for Paul George and everything, and then brought Shea Gilchrist Alexander. They thought he was nuts for doing that, and then I you remember all those draft picks that he had. I was wondering what he was doing, but there was a method to his madness, um, and they played the long game, and now you're seeing the benefits of it. You're seeing the benefits of it, and you're seeing that kind of with Orlando to a certain extent, and the Pistons are looking like they might be headed in that direction too as well. No, matter of fact, you know what? I think the Pistons are heading in that direction because they got Trajan Langdon in the front office, and I got to give Trajan Langdon his props, man. He's made some great decisions in that front office for the Detroit Pistons, man. So yeah, I think that the Pistons, man, they can they can definitely make some noise, man. Depending on who they play, we gotta wonder who is it that they will play. We gotta wonder if they're gonna just stay in the sixth spot. They could move up and play in fifth spot. You said Sam Presti in OKC, RC Buford, and in San Antonio, Langdon, Detroit, and Riley, South Beach. Great executive. Yeah, um, Pat Riley though, man, I'm a little disappointed in Pat Riley. I felt like he could have, listen, man. I know Pat Riley's up in there punching the air right now, especially if the Warriors they become successful because of you not wanting to give Jimmy Butler what he wanted, not giving Jimmy Butler the extension, not giving him the pieces that he wanted, and then y'all getting into it. Pat Riley, man, I'm disappointed with him in that instance. You know what I'm saying? But it doesn't take anything away from what he done over the course of time, though. But I think that Pat Riley, everybody knows that Pat Riley could have handled that situation a lot better. Everybody knows that. I would listen. If I was Pat Riley, you would keep a guy like Jimmy Butler. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's like I said, everybody looking at his age and stuff like that, but Jimmy Butler is healthier than a Joel Embiid. Yeah, you see what I'm saying? He's healthier than a Joel Embiid, even though that he's 36 years old. I mean, every time you turn around, Joel Embiid is he's up in here talking about having another surgery. You don't hear Jimmy Butler every season. He might be hurt or whatever, but he's gonna play through whatever injury that he's playing through or whatever. Like look at this, David Joseph. Look at this right here, right? Check this out. Like look at Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving is playing hurt right now. Kyrie Irving, uh, and I'm gonna talk about this too as well. I'm gonna talk about Joel Embiid, and I'm also gonna talk about Jason Kidd and Kyrie Irving. But Jason Kidd and Kyrie Irving has handled this situation very well. Kyrie Irving is playing hurt. He's playing with a bulging disc in his back right now, and still putting up 42 without a front line. So I'm not gonna sit up here, man, and feel any sympathy or cry a river for Joel Embiid, especially when you got a guy in Kyrie Irving who's going through a transition in Dallas. They done lost their mega superstar. You got a guy in AD. Unfortunately, he ended up getting hurt, and then you got all of your front line gone. But Kyrie, yet and still, is still able to get in his bag. Jason Kidd is still able to get in his coaching bag. That's what true champions do, man. That's what true champions do, and you gotta give what's his name, Jason Kidd as well as Kyrie Irving. That prop. You said, man, AD turned back into street clothes. Yeah, man. It's an unfortunate situation, man. Now I'm not making a lot of excuses for AD. AD was playing. He played 76 games last season, and he was on pace to play just that amount. This has been the most time that he had missed. When he was in LA and then coming over here and stuff, he had missed a week due to a abdominal strain. Now this is the adductor. You know what I'm saying, the left adductor, and that has to do, in terms of the growing or whatever. You gotta take precaution when it comes to that. If he plays with that, he could wind up, messing up his career. I'm not making no excuses for him or anything like that. That also goes to what you're doing, in the off season too as well. But he's about to miss a month. Gafford is about to be out. Gafford is about to be out 6 weeks. They said. You say I wish people would stop threatening the Mavericks GM too. I understand them being mad about the trade, but don't threaten the man. Listen, I put to you like this, man. Um, really, man, the guy that you really want to is the overseer, and that was Andy Dumont. Okay, like he was the overseer of everything. He was the one that really wanted. It came down from him. Nico Harrison just came down and said, "Okay, we're gonna go ahead and make this move or whatnot." Listen, man, they made the decision, man. The fans are gonna be fans, but yeah, you're right about that. Threatening death threats and stuff like that. That family don't have nothing to do with that. He's up in there, he's doing the job. Now, do I agree with the trade that they made? No, I wouldn't have got rid of Luca in this instance. But it is what it is. They saw something that we don't. You know what I'm saying? Uh, they're saying that Luca didn't fit their culture anymore, which I think is BS. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the man led you to five I mean, the man led you to a finals, and he's a five-time All NBA player, a perennial All Star, and just being a talent like that. Got to the Western Conference Finals the year before, the year before they made the finals and everything. You said Luca just made the final. Yeah, they should have kept him. I agree with you. I agree 100%. Like, to me, man, besides the Minnesota trade, David Joseph, I think that this was the stupidest trade that they could have made. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, A Rod, now that they're becoming, I think majority owners of the Timberwolves now, if I'm A Rod, man, I'm just wondering why would you even make why would you even make that trade over there, and you have Minnesota, even though that Minnesota has climbed back up. I got to give props to Ant Man. That he's staying in the fight and everything. But you had a team that went. At one time they were in the top of the East. They were the number one. They were number one, between number one and number three last season. Now they're fighting in 6 or 7. They were in the Western Conference Finals, about to go to the finals. Now you got to wonder if they're gonna get out of the first or second round. You understand what I mean? So it's I just look at that and I'm like, man, those were stupid trades. It's the same thing with the Dallas Mavericks. If y'all would have just kept all your pieces and everything, you had Luca, you have Kyrie, you still got your same people that are returning. You got Lively, you got Gafford. Now you got the addition of Klay Thompson. Man, like I say, like I always say, you will be cooking with grease, man. But they didn't want to do that. They wanted. He felt like defense, wins championship, which I agree. But at the same time, you got to be on the floor in order to win championships. You have to be on the floor in order to play defense. And with AD, you got to wonder if he's going to get hurt. As much as I like AD, he got hurt at the wrong time last season when he played the Nuggets. We gotta look at that. We gotta look at it from that standpoint too. Now, I'm gonna talk about this Travis Hunter situation. I'm gonna get on the gridiron for just a second. Now, as you know, we got the uh, we got the combine getting ready to come up right around the corner. Shout out to Travis Hunter, and shout out to his haters too, man. He got a lot of them. Got a lot of people that are hating on Travis Hunter. They don't want to see Travis Hunter succeed. But it's all died down now. Now he's getting ready to embark on his NFL journey. Now, here's the thing about Travis Hunter. They have listed him as defensive back uh, at the combine, and I think when he gets drafted, they're gonna draft him as a DB. Now, there was speculation about whether he was gonna play wide receiver or whether he was gonna play DB. Well, they're listing him at DB, at defensive back. I think Travis Hunter will still be a solid DB. The guy is gifted on both sides of the pigskin. Okay. He has something that you can't teach, which is uh, really, really, really fast. That's something that you can't teach. That's just God given ability. Um, you know, you said I hope Travis Hunter should do a shallow all get drafted. They will. Oh, they're all gonna get drafted. They're all gonna get drafted. Now, the thing that we gotta wonder is how successful are they gonna be. I could see Shador Sanders getting being successful. Shiloh, I'm not sure where his ceiling is gonna be, but as long as they remain focused, man. Like you got to think about it, man. These guys were they come from a culture in which Deion Sanders ran that culture. Okay, and he was their coach. Deion Sanders, man, wants all of his players to succeed, man. Case in point, let me give you an example, man. Deion Sanders didn't come out and have to address anybody about Travis Hunter and his situation with his girlfriend. You know what he did? He just said simply, "Hey, we got your back here," and left it alone. Deion Sanders understands what comes with playing in the NFL, what type of pressure you're gonna face, what type of demons are gonna come at you. Um, the trials and tribulations that are gonna happen. When you look at social media, man, and you saw Travis Hunter, man, you see all these other pages, all these other people, man, that call Travis Hunter everything but a child of God. They run around, they call this guy a simp, they say this, they say that about him. But the last time I checked, this guy is winning Heisman's, okay? Not only is he winning Heisman's, this guy is setting records for uh, the amount of awards that he's won in the NCAA college football season. Everybody's constantly talking about him, whether or not he should, what position he should play, whether it's wide receiver or defensive back. And then he's a potential number one pick in this year's draft, or at least top three. So I don't understand why they continue to hate on the guy that's doing everything that's right. Oh well, I'll answer that for you. It's Deion Sanders. Prime time. Prime time has taken these guys and he has molded them into young men. It's not just about football with Deion. It's a brotherhood. It's family. You know what I'm saying? Besides his sons and everything like that, but he took Travis Hunter under his wing, and you got to realize Travis Hunter wanted to go with Deion, man. When he was over there at Jackson State, he said wherever Deion goes, he's gonna go, and that's because Deion is his mentor. He followed Deion. He wants to be successful like a Deion. So I'm pretty sure that Travis Hunter is ignoring the noise. You can't help but think every time you open up social media, your name is in there in a negative light. Travis Hunter is going to be all right. You said it's crazy to me that Colorado won 9 games. They had one game that last season before Coach Prime had got there. Amazing. Yeah, 9 games this past season, not counting the previous Coach Prime season in Boulder. Yeah, exactly. And they're just going to build on that. They're going to build on that. Man, look, you're not going to come in to a program and just automatically just, start making immediate change. We got to look at Nick Saban, man. Listen, as much as people love Nick Saban and everything, Nick Saban wasn't successful when he went up to the NFL. You know what I'm saying? And then when he came down, when Nick Saban had came down to the college level, the collegiate level, he didn't automatically just start winning. You know, it took him some time, just like it took Urban Meyer time, just like it took some of these other great coaches time. Pete Carroll, it took him time. Like even with basketball, like you look at Rick Pitino. Rick Pitino, man, he tried. He found out that he couldn't coach in the. Well, he tried to do his thing in the NBA, but when he went to college, he was more successful. Um, and it was the same thing for several other coaches that tried to go to the NBA, and they found out that the NBA wasn't necessarily their cup of tea. They came on back down to collegiate. It's and even still, you're not gonna just it's not gonna be an overnight thing, man. It takes time. And then next thing you know, they're gonna look back and they're gonna laugh. Like, look at Jimmy Johnson. His first season when he got with the Cowboys or whatever, they were what? They won one game. And next thing you know, that's when the Cowboys, they started to build. They put the pieces together, man. And it's very challenging to build a championship team. We're not talking about a team to just win. Deion Sanders wants to build a championship team, man. Not just a team that's just going uh win a few games or whatever and then going home. No, he want to be in there, man. He want to be competing. He want to compete for that national championship. Deion Sanders is a champion. He's a Hall of Famer. You know what I'm saying? He didn't come here to fail. So. But besides that, man, I think that Travis Hunter is gonna be he's gonna be good at the combine, man. A lot of people can use his talent. You said being a head coach on any level, it's basically a year-round job. Now, yeah, it is, man. It is, and it's very time-consuming. And a lot of people don't understand the sacrifices that coaches make, man. Coaches, man, like I'm not gonna lie, David Joseph, man, and I'm gonna say this and then I'm gonna go ahead and roll out, man. But I never knew the amount of work that coaches had to do. You know what I'm saying? When we talk about film study, you know what I'm saying? When we talk about the workouts, when we talk about the meetings, you still gotta you still some of the coaches, they still gotta go teach. You know what I'm saying? Then not to mention they got families at home, stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? You're doing stuff out in the community. A lot of people call you, whether it's you know sources, outside sources, calling about a particular player. You got different coaches that are coming from colleges or something like that. I'm saying if it's high school or something like that, scouts might be coming out, and then you got people that are reaching and grabbing at you because they got family situations going on. You know what I'm saying? There might be some you know drug and alcohol abuse in the household or something like that, and a child needs to come and live with you, stuff like that. Sort of like what happened on Coach Carter, stuff like that. We got to look at stuff like that, man. Coaching is not easy, man. And I used to look at it, and I said to myself, I said, man, like now that I look at it, I'm like, man, coaching is not easy at all. But back in the days, we used to look at it, and we were like, man, this is easy, stuff like that. But now you look back at it, man, it's like, and the money that they make is really not that much, man. Like, if you really look at, like, especially at a high school level, they don't get paid that much. They don't get paid that much to coach. You have to really love what you're doing. That's the same thing with teaching too as well. You know, you don't really start making that real money until you get to the collegiate level though. But uh I done talked enough ish. Make sure y'all like the video, share it, subscribe, hit the notifications too. It's straight to the point, sports and entertainment. Shouts out to the Horn Tide Lions, then basketball, boxing community. And tell them, man, I'm out of here.